Hello and welcome again. My name is Rick Sanders. It's been a little bit, unless you've been tuning into the live streams, in which case, welcome to the video side of the channel. Now, I relatively recently did a pretty extensive rebuild of the pedal board to solve a specific couple issues I was having with it. That's been going really well, but rather than doing a full 2026 edition of the workflow, or until I do that maybe, I wanted to take a moment to kind of highlight some of the things that I've worked out in this most recent rebuild that I think are useful on their own. And in some cases, I either haven't seen deep dives on it or just want to kind of share like what's been working for me. And the first of those is basically integrating the HX Stomp into my setup. Now, a couple of good friends of mine who I respect, who are very talented and intelligent, have been kind of getting on me to try the HX Stomp. And since I was in the market for a pedal board option that would let me get a lot of guitar effects, kind of offload those guitar effects from the RC600 itself, I was kind of let's say, primed to be ready to try it. And I will say that thank you to those friends, you know who you are, for recommending it. It's been really great. I mean, I'm super late to the party to like give a review for the HX Stomp, but like it's however many thumbs up this is. Some thumbs up. It's great. I like it a lot. However, one of the things that I needed in order to move my guitar effects from the RC600 to the HX Stomp was I needed some way to synchronize the clocks between the two, specifically for time-based effects like delay and similar such things. So I might have done a video on how I did that, but honestly, that process was so easy, it doesn't warrant a video. Kudos to line 6, kudos to Boss. You plug Midi out from the RC600, you plug Midi into the HX Stomp, you use the defaults and magic happens. It's really quite nice. So that was easy. But the other thing was the way I was using the HX Stomp, and you'll see as I get to the demo, is I'm using it as a kind of a stomp box, the stomp box mode specifically, and I wanted to have all 3 buttons on the device dedicated to guitar effects. This meant that if I wanted to change presets, I don't have any buttons left, and maybe some other functions as well. And so my options to change presets would be to buy another external foot switch, or you can like just turn the knob directly, which I generally like to do as little as possible. Or, well, I've already got a Midi cable connected from the RC600 to the HX Stomp. Can I make the RC600 partially be that external foot switch? And the answer is yes. And this video is really outlining how I did that. I thought it was kind of cool. I hadn't seen it done by other people. I'm sure people do, but first, my walk through the internet did not find it. And I thought it was kind of a neat little like integration, as I see a fair few people doing loopers, a fair few loopers, I should say, using the RC600 with the HX Stomp. And this is maybe an idea for you to throw in your toolkit. So with that, I'm going to start with a demo, and then we're going to get into the configuration and kind of wrap things up and keep this one pretty focused on this one particular issue in this case. So I'm here at the pedal board, and as you can see, I do have the HX Stomp up here in place of where some other pedals used to be. I'm not going to tour everything that changed on this pedal board. You can probably kind of eyeball and guess some of the changes and why. I'll probably do videos of some of the other stuff. But interestingly, as I mentioned, the HX Stomp is in this stomp mode. This is kind of most similar to the workflow that it was replacing. You can also kind of turn multiple effects on at once if you want, which I find pretty handy. And including button 3, which I think by default is tap tempo / the tuner. As you see, that is dedicated to effects as well. So I have a little preset that for me represents like all the effects I would need in a given song. That's the way I'm kind of trying to think about the HX Stomp. But this means that I don't have an easy way to change the preset without like leaning down and turning the knob, or I mean, I could get an external foot switch for the HX Stomp, but again, trying to keep the board tidy. What you don't see in this picture is that I have a Midi cable from the RC600 to the HX Stomp. So this pulsing tempo you see on the device is the tempo for both devices right now. So before we dive into the configuration any further, I just want to talk very briefly about modes so you know what you're looking at here. Feel free to skip ahead if you've already heard me talk about modes ad nauseum or know the device well and don't need that information. But real quick, the 9 basic buttons on the RC600 can actually be mapped to up to 27 functions by way of 3 modes. In each mode, you get a different set of presets for these 9 buttons. I have my mode selector set over here, and you can notice when I click that button, it changes, the lights change on the device. That tells you there are different things happening at each button. The device has 3. but there's two ways to kind of set it up to how you go from mode to mode. One of them is going from 1 to 2 to 3 and then back to 1. I don't choose that because I live in fear of like accidentally double clicking. If I try to go from 1 to 2 and I accidentally double click my way to 3, then I have to kind of go around the horn and make sure I don't overclick and find myself in a cycle of spinning through them 3 modes over and over again. That's basically a waking nightmare for me. So the way I use it, and the alternative is to go from 1 to 2, back to 1, or if you long press, you go to mode 3. In practice, mode 3 is kind of hard to get to. And if my most recent videos, I've talked about what mode 1 and 2 are set up for, which is like the in the moment looping, like turning on and off effects. That's changed a bit, but I'll get into that another day. But like specifically getting access to all the tracks that I need and just the things I need to do in a moment. Whereas mode 3, it kind of is reserved for things that are both, I can kind of premeditate a bit, that are hard to get to in the moment on a song. And maybe the way I like to think about it is it's the place I go between songs largely to kind of set things up for the next song. For instance, this button here, this is button 9, is the button that I use to erase all my tracks, which is really useful between songs. Sometimes I also tend to like all start, stop, click and hold and delete that way. But if I forget to do that, I can come over here and delete the tracks. But obviously that you don't want to do that by accident during a song. So it's impossible for me to misclick it just by chance during a song. The other thing I have here on mode 3 is, as you can kind of tell from the colors of these buttons here, which I hope they come up the right way on the video, this is a purple button that moves the preset down 1 and a green button which moves the preset up 1. So when I click this green button, the preset on the HX Stomp goes from 41A to 41B. If I click the purple one, it's going to go back to 41A. That's basically the crux of this video. I also took the opportunity while I was at it to look at other things you could do with Midi from the RC600 to the HX Stomp. And if this white button over here is set to the tuner. I don't really need it in this setup that much because I have the tuner over here on this Shure wireless system I use. But I'm building a second pedal board that's going to be based on this template, and this will be very handy in that one where I don't want to bring an external tuner, basically. So that's basically how this all goes. Pretty simple demo in terms of what it does. In mode 3, I have the buttons to change the preset, and I'll actually talk about the button I used to use the tuner rather. So let's get into the configuration side of things. So before I get too far in, I just want to take a moment to talk about the channel. I am a full-time musician. This is what I do for a living. And if you're getting value out of this, I ask kindly if you would subscribe, hit all the useful buttons, the bells and the likes and stuff like that, or leave a nice comment. Let me know what it is you'd like to see on the channel, or anything you liked about this video, or corrections. This is a video where I'm talking about Midi, and it's a newer area for me. So if I make any mistakes, please do. I will highlight any corrections that people post in the comments. Also, if you really love what I'm doing here, if you've gotten tangible value out of any of the videos that I've done, I do have tipping links for Buy Me a Coffee and Venmo. Again, don't have to do that. It's super appreciated if you feel so inclined. And with that, let's get back into the video. Okay, so obviously this is all based on Midi in terms of hardware. So all you need in terms of hardware is a Midi cable. Again, not shown, it's kind of tucked in here underneath the pedal board. So this configuration is actually going to lean more heavily on the HX Stomp than the RC600. So I want to start there. First thing we need to do here is go to the global settings here. Come to global settings on the HX Stomp. And over here in Midi, you need to tell it what bass channel to use. This channel is going to be the one you're going to be using to match between the RC600 and the HX Stomp. I'm using channel 1. You could use whatever channel you want. You just want to make sure, note which one it is so that later on you're going to be, that they will be the same basically. You just want to make sure that whatever number you choose, that they are the same between the RC600 and the HX Stomp. You can also choose to, I'm currently got this off. This is just for in case you want to have other devices getting MIDI signals from the RC600 here. You can actually set this MIDI through to on. It will resend the signal that it gets to another device. I don't have any other devices. I have it off. It probably saves an infinitesimal amount of compute on this little HX Stomp. But if you have any desire to like send signals through and do more of this kind of thing, you can actually set this to on if you like as well. Next, we're going to go over to global settings. Preferences here, and we're going to basically be enabling the FS FS4 and FS5. Now, not to be confused with the actual physical FS7, that is the way it handles function assigns on the HX Stomp. So we're going to be coming over here, one page over in Preferences, and you see it's got FS4 and FS5, and you want to set FS4 to EXP FS tip and FS5 to EXP FS ring. This will enable us to assign things to these virtual functions, if you will, inside the HX Stomp, which is going to be important for us. And then finally, we want to head over to foot switches here, and you want to tell it what FS4 and FS5 are going to do. You've kind of created these virtual things here, and what I've done is I've set the FS4 function to preset down and the FS5 function to preset up. That's basically changing the preset up or down, relative to each other on the HX Stomp. Now, this may all seem just like a little bit weird, because the whole reason we're doing this exercise is because we don't have an external foot switch onto it. But the reason we're doing this is that there's actually a set of Midi controls built into the HX Stomp, and I'm going to flash some of them on the screen here. So feel free to pause and look at these if you like, that are set to specific global functions. And some of those functions are going to be to emulate the various buttons on the device. So we're going to be doing that when we get to the RC600. But note these for later. I'll definitely be like indicating exactly which ones are using, but you can already see like 52 says emulate FS4, 53 says emulate FS5, and you scroll down a bit, you can see like 68 is the tuner screen, for instance. So that's just something that, just a little bit of a preview why we did that. Okay, so now we're looking at the RC600, and I'm going to start things out by going to mode 3, just to be able to visualize what it is we're looking at. And kind of remind us what it is we're trying to build here. And the first thing you want to do is go into the menu, go over one page to the Midi setting, and look for TXCH, which is the transfer channel. Again, I'm using one. I want to just make sure that's the same one I used on the HX Stomp. Next, coming over here to the control function. This is, again, if you're coming from the beginning, menu, page over, control function, mode 3, that's the mode we're doing here, and these pedals are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're looking at pedal 5 here. I'm going to click 5. And I have this set to LED, which is the one at the end of the little dial here if you're looking for it on the menu. And you go over here, and I set this one purple to purple. And similarly, pedal 6, green to green. Why purple and green? Well, the colors make me happy, but really it's to match this the color I have on the HX Stomp itself. This one is to the left, so this reminds me it's to the left that way, green is that way, whatever makes you happy, basically. Similarly, on pedal 1, I have it set to white. So, one last step here. LED doesn't do anything on its own, it just makes the colors on the buttons change, or in this case, stay the same. And what I'm going to do is go over to the assign. And I happen to put this on assign 11. This is for this one here. So this is mode 3, pedal 5, momentary. So there's no latching or anything like that or toggle on this particular button. So when I click it, I just want it to be FS4 here. And so to make it be FS4, I just need to send a Midi signal of 52. And the value in this case does not matter. So when I click it, it's going to go to the previous preset. Similarly, to this 52, again, that's from the manual on the HX Stomp. If I go over to assign 12, I have mode 3, pedal 6, this guy here, momentary, and I'm sending Midi 53, which is next preset, or FS5 specifically. So that's the crux of the stuff you care about. The last thing I'll just kind of touch on, because this is a little different, is assign 10. Which is, I've got set to this guy here. So mode 3, pedal 1. This one is actually set to toggle. So in order, this one's going to be the one that turns on and off the tuner there. And so the way that works is it actually sends a different value, whether it's toggled on or off. So the first time you click it, it's going to send, I think, a value of 127, and the second time it's going to send a value of 0. I forget which one of these is the load-bearing setting here, to be honest. But I just set them both that way, 0, 127. So what happens is when I click this one, I send CC68, which again from the manual is tuner. I click that, turns the tuner on, click it again, tuner's off. And that's basically it. So in closing, you can tell from, if you've been following the channel, the pedal board has drifted a fair bit. It's a bit different than it was last time I put it on camera. And I do think the HX Stomp has been actually a really good addition to that. I like the sounds, I like the flexibility. And in general, I found that this has really let my workflow be pretty undisturbed except for the location of where the buttons are and how they actually sound. I was able to get tones that are pretty similar, that I feel like my performance sounds, if anything, a little bit better and cleaner than it used to. And something like this, where you're already using a MIDI cable, finding ways to kind of like utilize existing hardware and existing connections can be kind of handy. So, this is a bit more narrow than my usual video. Hopefully this has been valuable to you. And so again, this was set up to enable me to change presets largely between songs, but I do occasionally start a song in the wrong preset, and with this setup, I'm able to actually change that on the fly, on my feet, as it were, without bending down or anything like that. All I need is some period in the song, and as a looper, I do get a few of those where I'm not playing the guitar. I go to mode 3, move wherever I need to, enable whatever settings I need in the HX Stomp, and off I go. I can do it in a way that has no actual impact on the time of my performance. And since I do tend to go from song to song pretty quickly, sometimes I'm like setting up, I have a voice live play, I set those presets as well, and I can do the HX Stomp mid-song if I need to, although ideally pretty early in the song. Although very occasionally I even use this to get like additional sounds by changing preset mid-song intentionally. It's nice to have the option. I do like this. This has been pretty good for me. So hopefully if you try this, let me know what you think. And again, the channel is growing. I really appreciate that. I want to say big thanks to my live stream audience and my moderators over there. There is here, but there's a different kind of vibe to standing in front of a camera and doing a pre-recorded video like this and editing versus turning on a live stream and playing live music for people. So if you're interested in that, check out the live streams. Come online about 3 times a week. And again, in the process of growing the channel, I'm about 1,700 some subscribers in. So if you like what you see, do consider subscribing. I would appreciate it. Like, comment, all those kinds of things. Again, if you really like what I do, I've got the donation links, but really I just, I enjoy doing this sort of thing. I do music for a living. I do these videos partly for a living and partly for the love. I think I just enjoy education. So one last plug before I end though, is if you enjoy listening to the sound of my voice, which is kind of weird to contemplate, but if you enjoy hearing me gab about things, music, gear, etc., then I want to draw your attention to a new channel that my musical partner and friend Christine DeMeo are doing together. We've launched a podcast called Gigging Solo. It's on that channel. We'll link that channel here. And we talk about all things solo performing, talk about sometimes looping, but really the experience of being a solo live looping performer, or solo musical performer, and all the ins and outs of that. So if you like that, check that out. I think it's a lot of fun. We've had some pretty good feedback in the early episodes, and we're still getting that thing off the ground. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've got something out of it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.